started. Son, guys, if we could take a seat, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Is this on?
Yeah. Maybe if you ring the chime.
Huh?
Ring the chime.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. We're going to go ahead and get started here. You can please take your seats.
It's like burning cats.
What distinguishes candle from other lights is that it appeals to our soul, not our eyes. And that's from Mehmet Murad. Welcome to the First Existentialist Congregation of Atlanta, celebration of life. My name is Jan Lister, and I'm going to be your facilitator today. And our musician today is the fabulous Gene Heiner. And it's time for our opening congregational song. So,
Our first song is in the new book of the addendum, One Planet is Turning. And remember, these are alphabetized. One Planet is Turning. I'm going to play it through to remind you how the melody goes. Rise in body and spirit as you're willing and able.
Hope.
Thank you.
We are a philosophically based spiritual community dedicated to human liberation and founded on existentialist and feminist principles. By feminist principles, we actively support freedom and accept and justice for everyone. We support diversity as a source of strength, and we actively include everyone. We make our spiritual home in the old stone church, which was hand-built 100 years ago by the African-American Antioch East Baptist Church. And we honor their labors of love and this powerful history of this very special place, which we are so happy to be able to inhabit, and which was deliberately and maliciously taken away from them. We acknowledge that our spiritual home stands on land forcibly taken from Muscogee Creek people, and we support justice and equality for all Indigenous people. And I think we really need to be thinking of that, especially this month of Thanksgiving. At this time, I'd like to remind you to please put your devices on silent. Feel free to wander around if you want to, but please do so quietly and respectfully. Our speaker today is Reverend Marsha Mitchiner. And the topic is, I actually don't have the title, but it's the Day of the Dead, or Dia de Los Muertos. Day of the Dead is really special to me, probably because I've lost so many people in my lifetime. I can have like a whole table just to myself out there. Disney Pixar came out with an animated movie a few years ago called Coco. Did any of y'all see that? It's a beautiful movie about the Day of the Dead, when those who have passed on are able to cross over to the living world and visit their loved ones, but only if they're remembered. And remembrance doesn't necessarily have to mean you actually knew somebody. You can be remembered for a song that you wrote, or a picture that you painted, or a speech that you gave, or even for a good deed that you did for a stranger. You could be a picture in someone's picture frame, or in a story that your children tell your grandchildren. But once that song is no longer played, or that painting is destroyed, or that speech is forgotten, or the picture of you fades away, or the stories about you no longer told, the memory of you goes away. And it's only then that we really die. And I imagine that will happen to most of us eventually. Hopefully it's going to be a very long time from now, because our stories will keep going on. But that's why all the pictures and memorabilia over here on this table is so important and so precious. As long as those people in those photos live on in our memories, then they aren't really dead. I don't tell this story to everybody, but I'm going to tell it to you. The morning my mother died, I was sitting next to her bed watching her knowing that her death was going to come at any moment. This woman, who had been ravaged by cancer and hardly able to move for months, suddenly sat up and reached out her arm. And she said, "Mom, Mom." I felt like I was intruding on something, so I left the room. As I was leaving, my dad went in. I had barely sat down in the living room when he came back out and told us she was dead. And I knew that I had witnessed my grandmother, although I didn't see her, helping my mom to cross over to the other side. And it's still a moment that makes my stomach kind of get filled with butterflies, because it was pretty amazing. And it gave me great hope. I'm pretty sure for me, it's going to be my brother, Tony, reaching out for me. I don't know. Could be any number of people, but I'm thinking it's going to be Tony. And I can't wait to see him again. The dead appear to us in dreams because that's the only way they can make us see them. What we see is only a projection, beamed from a great distance, light shining at us from a dead star. And that's from Donna Tartt, The Secret History. The living are made of nothing but flaws. The dead, with each passing day in the afterlife, become more and more impeccable to those who remain earthbound. From Anna Giberson's Splendor. The dead live. How do they live? By love. That's from John Cowles and Magus. So now we'd like to recognize any newcomers that might be with us today. Anybody here for the first time? Or, oh, please stand up and tell us who you are.
Hi, Courtney. I was at Friday 2 weeks ago, and you guys had a booth up there, so I couldn't make it 2 Sundays ago, but you're not.
All right. Wow. That's great. Thank you so much for coming, Courtney.
Thanks for having me.
Do you live in the area? Or?
I live in Lakewood, a little south of here.
Lakewood, yeah, that's not that far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Gresham Park. It's about the same distance.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Let me just show you something. You got this?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to draw your attention to the inside. We have our connection card, and you can fill that out. If you want to get more information about us, or you want us to know more about you, if you want to sign up for our monthly newsletter, or our weekly e-blasts, then just fill that out, and when we pass the plate, you can just drop it in there, or you can just give it to me later if you want. Okay, thank you. Okay, this is the fun part. It's time for us to celebrate anyone who is present, who may be celebrating a milestone, such as a birthday, or an anniversary, or just a special occasion of some kind. Anybody? Darn. I love singing happy birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, we do have somebody. Yay!
Oh, great. Just in the spirit of getting to sing happy birthday, I would mention that my baby turned 16 on Thursday.
Oh.
That's a little one. My little 18 now, so you ready?
What's your name?
Oh, Morgan. Morgan.
Who is
I
that?
can't tell who you are behind that mask. Is that Kristen?
Yeah.
Hey, Kristen!
All right.
Yeah. It's a life.
It's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah.
La 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 la. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gloria. Happy birthday to you.
Bill,
16.
Yeah, well, I got a younger brother. He is deceased, which is appropriate. But 2 days ago, October 28th, he would have turned 71. So his name is Keith L. Shelton. He was a great brother. So anyway, his birthday was 2 days ago.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Keith. Happy birthday to you.
you know, and that's one of the days that all of these people come to life for us on their birthdays. And it's a beautiful thing. Okay, our next congregational song is...
It's also in the new addendum book. You've got to be carefully taught. Yeah.
parents, I know we don't have any kids here today, but if you want daycare, we're making reservations a week ahead of time. And if anybody has any community announcements, please bring them up before the end of the service, and I will read them later on in the service. This is normally the time when I would ask Marsha Mitchiner, our fellowship minister, to come up and speak a few words, but since she's going to be our speaker today, I'm going to assume that you're not going to do that today. So we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, it's time for our silent meditation. We have candles on either side of the room if you'd like to light candles, or just sit and reflect. Feel free to get up, but if you do, please be cognizant of your fellow congregation's silent time, and I'll let you know when the time is up. I get so caught up in the whole moment of silence thing that sometimes it's hard to come out of it. I am here to create greatness, not living legacy, but memories for thereafter, and then I must go. From Justin Alcala, Dead End Job. Oh, may I join the choir invisible of those immortal dead who live again in minds made better by their presence, living pulses stirred to generosity in deeds of daring rectitude. From George Eliot, Oh, may I join the choir invisible, and other favorite poems. And now we have another congregational song. Right?
This one is in the Pink Songbook, page 105. Although, if you don't, we don't really need the songbooks on this, and if you don't need it, put it down so you can clap and dance around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Yeah. And so the first verse, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, blah, blah, blah. Then the second verse, this is where we have participation from everybody. What do you not want to let turn you around? Holler something out.
Guns and violence.
Ain't gonna let no guns and violence turn me around. Okay? Good.
What page is it in?
105. So, Rise and body and spirit that you're willing and able. Guns and bottles, but we'll do no hunting. Ah, yeah!
Yeah!
Lordy.
Okay, it's now time for my favorite part. Joy, sorrows, milestones. The living owe it to those who no longer can speak to tell their stories for them. That's from Czeslaw Miłosz, the Isla Valley. We fear the dead, and really we ought to be far more afraid of the living. From A.J. West, the spirit engineer. The dead know something we don't, although they keep it to themselves. It's from Angela Carter. When you are dead, you do not know you are dead. It is only painful and difficult for others. The same applies when you are stupid. Fully Gulak. And from Will Rogers, I just had to throw this one in. When I die, I want to die like my grandfather, who died peacefully in his sleep, not screaming like all the passengers in his car. I just want to give you a reminder to bring your community announcements to me, and I'll read them after our speaker. And our featured speaker today is Reverend Marsha Mitchiner. Marsha is our fellowship minister and has served the congregation for over 2 decades, since ordination by Firsty, following her study with our founder, Linear Plants. She counsels, connects, and contacts members and friends, and for those who need it, performs the laying on of hands in her role as a massage therapist. Many of us can vouch for the quality of her work and appreciate the wisdom, restraint, and compassion she brings to the job of caring for the congregation. Marsha speaks once each quarter and helps smooth the functioning of the congregation innumerable times in between. And she just has such a beautiful heart. I'm very proud to be able to call her my friend. Please welcome Reverend Marsha Mitchiner.
everyone. Great to see you here today. This rainy day in Georgia. I find that on the anniversary of the days that people that I've loved passed, that I'm acutely aware of what I've lost. On those days, particularly, I have a feeling of sadness because I think about their dying. But today is a day of celebration because today is the Day of the Dead. This is the time where we focus on not mourning those that we have loved and lost, but rather to celebrate the fact that they have been a significant part, of our life and what they have given us. I love the fact that I have these pictures and memorabilia over here. In the Mexican tradition, on the Day of the Dead, altars are built to hold pictures, memorabilia, favorite foods and drinks. Often marigold petals and sweet sugar treats are placed around, and it's an offering to entice the dead to cross over and to be with us on this day and to join in on the celebration. We at First E have this altar, and it's for everyone, anyone, to place a picture or a memento, something that reminds you of someone that you have loved and cared about and are no longer with us. We have a good many of pictures and things over here. So I hope that after the service that you will take a few minutes and come up and look at the pictures and what people have brought. And more than that you will turn to someone and share some memory, some special time or a special person in your life. Because that's what today is about. It's the day of remembering and celebrating. I personally really love this tradition ever since Jill Ruman brought it back to us from her experience living in Mexico. And it gives me a special time and place to think about those that I've loved and lost in a way that is celebratory, that is a way of being thankful for not dwelling on the fact that I've lost them, but rather celebrating the fact that I have them in my life and how wonderful that has been, for me. I have pictures over here, or a picture over here of my mother, my older sister, who have both of those who have passed. There's also my younger sister and myself that in the picture. I think about my mother a lot. I think about how the things that she did. She was a homemaker, a mother, a wife. Not until I was already in college did she work outside the home once she got married. So she was always there. She was the one that I knew I could always count on. My mother loved the birds, She loved plants and flowers. She would save stale bread and crumble it up and put it in an overturned trash can lid out the window so that we could watch the birds. And she would tell us about what the different ones were, encourage us to learn about nature. She encouraged us to understand the importance that nature had in our life, and that those little birds were important, as tiny as they were, that they were important. She would prune her azaleas. She planted roses and iris. She loved music. She subscribed to the Reader's Digest series of classical music. And we played it a lot of times on the big stereo that we had in the living room. I would come in to the house after work and I'd hear it playing. Gave me a kind of a sense of peace to hear that kind of beautiful music that filled the house. She bought me my own record player. I, however, did not play classical music on my record player. But she gave me that appreciation, for music. I happen to be sort of a middle child. My older sister was 7 years older. My brother's 6 years older. And I have a younger sister who's 7 years younger. So I think of myself as the middle child. Needless to say, my brother and older brother and sister weren't especially thrilled about the idea of having to play with me a whole lot. And especially when it was too cold or rainy and we were all stuck inside, my mother would say, "Go get the dictionary or a volume from the Encyclopedia Britannica, open it up, and learn something." She did not tell me, turn to that particular page or learn about that particular subject. She wanted me to experience the joy of finding something new, of learning something on my own. Actually, it was pretty much fun. They had all kinds of cool pictures of snakes and other kind of things that I would usually try to turn to first. But then I would turn to a page about South America or something that was beyond my world. It expanded my knowledge of what was out there, in the world. She even helped me with homework, if I needed it. And believe me, she made sure I did my homework every day. She was a great encourager of my being curious. She let me run and play out in the woods without that supervision, which when I was young, a zillion years ago, it was safe. You know, it was safe for me to leave the house on Saturday morning and be gone all day. She didn't know where I was, other than the fact that I was probably within a mile of the house. But, you know, she gave me that opportunity to have my independence, to enjoy, you know, being out there in nature and learning things on my own. She loved to tell stories about when she was an older teenager, how she and her friends, she lived in Savannah, and they would go to Tybee Island, and there was at that time there was a boardwalk that had a big dance floor at the end of it, and I could see her eyes light up when she would talk about going on the weekends with her friends to that boardwalk and dancing. The joy that she got, you know, from the music and from dancing, really, you know, pumped me up. I love to hear those stories. I would sit there and, you know, and kind of imagine, you know, what that was like as she told those stories. So we didn't actually have, I don't know, I guess we didn't have the money, or maybe it was because she knew that I would probably say no, although I would never, no, that's not true. I would never, in my era, you did not say no to your mother. If your mother said you were going to take piano lessons, you would take piano lessons. But that was not the case in my household. But when I was a teenager, a young teenager, she bought me a ukulele, a baritone ukulele, which is tuned to the last 4 strings on a guitar. And then later she brought me an actual guitar before I graduated from high school. I cannot tell you the hours of joy that gave me, having that ukulele and that guitar. That it was, sometimes I would be sitting there playing it by myself. But then when I went off to college, or even in high school, but mostly when I went off to college, oh man, we would gather in rooms, and you know, a couple of us who had guitars would bring those, and we would sit around and play and sing. And what a great way to meet people, and a great way to be with your friends. That was an opportunity I may not have had if my mother had not been so encouraging and, you know, given me this guitar that gave me that opportunity. She and I would sit in and usually it was just the two of us, but we would sit in the living room and play old songs. I would play old songs that Mother would ask me to do, like Peg of My Heart, or Summertime, things that, you know, reminded her of her younger days. And it was the time for the two of us, you know, to have together. And the fact that I was playing, you know, made me feel like I was important. And it was just a really joyful time. I mean, my mother was a good person. And she expected all of her children to be good people. My mother didn't allow us to use slang words that were prejudiced. She didn't allow us to talk bad about other people. Some of y'all who are on Facebook probably saw that I had posted that on my birthday a couple of weeks ago that I asked Chancey and a friend that I wanted t-shirts. So they gave me a bunch of t-shirts that I posted on Facebook. One of the t-shirts that I got after I posted that I'm wearing today. This t-shirt says, prejudice is when you think something is not a problem because it's not your problem.
That's it.
I think my mother, taught me that from the time that I was really little. She reminded me that we were fortunate to have what we had, and to be grateful for that, and to not look down on other people because they had less than. I have bird feeders all over my yard. I can look out and watch the birds. I've bought books so that I can learn more about them. I can do more than say, oh, that's a cardinal. I can identify probably 15, 20 birds. Just like that. She encouraged me. And she made it a fun experience. I will always be grateful for the fact that she was my mother. One of the first things that we did when we moved into the house was I went out to Pikes and I bought a whole bunch, like 20 or more azaleas that were already pretty good size. And they were the same azaleas that we had growing up. They were those beautiful pink and lavender. They're called indicas, like the ones that we had around our house when I was growing up. And now they cover a major expanse of our yard. Some of them are, well, most of them are like 10 feet tall, 8 to 10 feet tall. And in the springtime, they're simply gorgeous. Another thing that just gives me pleasure on a regular basis because of the lessons that I learned from my mother. She was a great teacher, but she was also a great role model. I think you probably, I've mentioned before, my sister, Marilyn, she was a really good person. She was the firstborn in our family, but she was very quickly overshadowed by my brother, who came along just a year and a half later. And in my family, we thought of my brother as Jesus Christ reincarnated. He was the only one who was biologically different. And I won't go into all of that. But he was a male. And that was important in my family. But my sister grew up, in his shadow, but she became a very well-liked high school teacher. And then later, when she left that, she became an entrepreneur, very successful entrepreneur. She still had a lot of emotional scars from those childhood years. And I always felt like she didn't think that she was ever really good enough. But as her younger sister, she never passed that on to me. She was almost like a second mother. We shared a bedroom most of my growing up until she went off to college. And at night, she would play word games with me so that I wouldn't be afraid and I could go to sleep. When I became a rebellious young person, and I'm sure you are just shocked to hear that I was ever a rebellious young person. She gave me unconditional love. I never felt judged by her, even when I acted in ways that I would be embarrassed about. When I came out as gay, she never treated me any differently than she did before. I never had to worry about whether or not I was welcome in her home, with her children. She was probably one of the most important people outside of my mother in my entire life. She died when she was only 58, back in 1999, and I still miss her very much. I think about her pretty often, but I'm so grateful that she was my sister. There are lots of other people that have been important to me. Some of those that were right here. People that were friends that made an impact on me. I was already old enough to have been basically formed, but they helped to inform me. They helped me to grow and to learn. Pat Hewitt. Pat and I used to sit on that bench right over there on Sunday mornings, most Sunday mornings, and I'd go to her house and we'd drink and play cards. Pat, I think through Pat I learned that you should never apologize for who you are. Never apologize for being who you are. And live your life. Nathaniel Jones. Most of you remember Nathaniel. Nathaniel had a hard life. He was homeless much of his life. He had mental health issues. But Nathaniel was a happy man. He had a positive outlook. It was always, when I would see him, he would say, "Good morning, Reverend Marsha," with this upbeat, cheerful attitude. And I can remember thinking, some of that time when he didn't have a place to sleep. I mean, he rarely had what he felt like was enough money. He was a skinny little thing. I don't think he ate very much because he didn't have a lot of money to, eat right. But I didn't hear him complaining. I feel like I learned watching and being with Nathaniel that even when life deals you a bad hand, you can still look at the world and be positive, to love people, not be angry. I sure miss Nathaniel. I miss seeing him here on Sundays. Reverend Lanier Clance. I don't even know where to start with Lanier. I mean, how do you possibly talk about the impact that Lanier would have on your life when you know him well? He invited me into the ministerial training program before I even knew I wanted to do it. He made me feel like I could do things, even though there were my own personal baggage, that would, the book that Pauline wrote on the imposter phenomenon. Oh my God, they're going to find out about me, because, and he would not. No, you can do it. He taught me to look at the world and myself with a different lens, to kind of, how when you go to the eye doctor and they do that thing where they say, which is clearer, this and this and that kind of thing, that it was kind of like that, because it was like, you grow up with certain messages and expectations. And that's how I saw the world. And he gave me a new way of looking at the world. He challenged me. He stimulated me. He wanted me to take risks. And he wanted me to be authentic as I went through all of that. I wouldn't be up here today as a fellowship minister if it hadn't been for Lanier. And Robert Stewart. Robert is still a very fresh wound in my heart. I was very close to Robert. He was the kind of man that I would want all male children to want to be like. No, he wasn't perfect, but he was kind. He was, to look at him, I saw this really strong, robust man. But he was so gentle. He could wrap you in a bear hug that would last for days. Mm-hmm. He would make you feel important when you came into the door and he greeted you. is somebody else that I miss a lot. He gave a lot to this congregation, and I hope that anytime you have the opportunity to make contact with his wife, Carol, or perhaps his son, Will, in Florida, that you'll take that opportunity, both to help console them, but as a way of sharing the joy that you had of knowing Rob. There are a lot of others. I could go on. Dane Rowley, Martha Garner. Some ones that many of y'all probably don't even know, Charlotte Salmons and Becky Dillard. Now, these are all people that here at First D that are important because they gave me things, joy, when I was around them. And I wonder if you were to invite those that you have loved and lost, if you were to invite them here today, what would you say to them? I mean, what would you talk about? What would you want them to know about what they meant to you in your life? To think about, it is a celebration. This is the time to be joyful that these people were there for some time as a part of your life, that they had an impact on who you are. So I hope that you will take a few minutes to come up after the service and look at the pictures, that you will take some time to share, with others that are here about your mother or your sister or your friends, someone that, has been particularly important to you, that you have loved, and even though you have sorrow in your heart because they're not with you, today you celebrate, who they were and what they meant to you. Thank you very much.
It made me think of so many things. Nathaniel's smile, which was constant. And, I think Robert was just going to be in this place forever. Okay, community announcements. The Biracial History Project is grateful to the many First D folks who generously volunteered and worked with us in so many ways to help make the Rose Hill Commemorative Living History Day events meaningful, memorable, and rich with fellowship. The Antioch East Baptist Church members and friends who attended have expressed their appreciation for First D's efforts toward this significant and welcoming set of experiences. I'm sorry, my glasses must be very hoping here to recognize all First D participants with gratitude and affection. First D Board of Directors, the Social Justice Guild, Liz Albright, Catrice Baker, Ellen Galgat, Charlene Ball, Linda Bell, Barbara Boone, Charlie Chansey, Bill Shelton, Leon Kleinmore, Edith Covington, Linda Douglas, Lorraine Fontana, the Golf Ball Pyramid, Joe Hamby, Carol Harder, Jean Heinrich, Mary Howard, Sue King, Bill Laney, Jan Lister, Roz Mance, Wade Marbraw, Reverend Marsha Mitchiner, Craig Matthews, Susan Ralston, Bill Reed, Carol Sandiford, Stell Simonton, Amy Stout, Will Sturkey, Mark Tippett, Libby Ware, Andy Weisskopf, Nancy White, and Pat White. And Edie says, if I missed your mention, mea culpa, please let me know. I'm in the hiccups of recovery mode. Still working. Thank you, Edie. And from the Membership Guild, Rocking the Monodocs Part 2 at the Davidson Arabian Mountain Nature Preserve. This is going to be November 5th. Is that Saturday of next week? We're going to meet here at 10 a.m. and return between 2 and 3. So bring a lunch. You can bring your dog. Make sure it's on a leash. 6 foot, recommended. Let's see. For an easy scenic walk. Okay, so last call. Come with Mary, Susan Ralston, Bill Shelton, Tiffany Tucker, Mason, and Walker. Okay. Sounds like fun. Yay. Thank you, Mary. Before we have our closing remarks, we're going to have one more congregational song.
This song is on your handout. We have more power than we know. And so this is an experiment. We'll see. I'm going to try to teach this to you all. So I'll do like a sing a line, and then you all sing, repeat it until you kind of catch on. And rise in body and spirit is your willing and able, okay? So this is how it starts. We have more power than we know. Everybody?
We have more power than we know.
Okay, now check this out. We don't have the right.
We don't have the right
To give up.
to give up.
We fight for liberty and justice for all. We fight for
Liberty and justice for all.
We are not Daniel Warnock, who wrote a book entitled We Don't Have the Right to Give Up, and also by Prince.
I'd like to invite you to attend our Celebration of Life next Sunday, when our speaker will be Clint McGuire. And his topic is history by word of mouth. And being a bit of a history buff, I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say next week. And I'd like to thank the wonderful Jean Heiner for her. And I want to end with a couple of quotes. And I also want to invite Courtney to come back. You know, we're just a bunch of old hippies here, but we need some young friends. This is from George Carlin. Life is tough. What do you get at the end? Death. What's that, a bonus? The life cycle is backward. You should die first, get it out of the way, then live in an old age home. Get kicked out when you're too young. Get a gold watch, go to work for 40 years until you're young enough to enjoy your retirement. Do drugs, alcohol, party, and get ready for high school. Go to grade school, become a kid, play, have no responsibilities, become a baby. Go back to the womb, spend your last 9 months floating, and finish off as an orgasm. And finally, from the contemporary poet Atticus, I hope to arrive to my death late in love and a little drunk. Thank you, everybody.